Hi there, my name is Lloyd Krasner, and I am the evil mastermind behind a 15 plus year project called Warp Spawn Games. And tonight I'm going to do a rules, not a read through, but more of a quick overview of my most recent creation, a game called The Singularity. The idea for a video of this sort comes from my younger son. Watches a ton of Minecraft videos. He thought it would be a cool idea. And also, a good friend of mine, Daryl Hanning, he recently did a game. He did a video for a game of his that he's working on about solar colonization. Very interesting. It's on Board Game Geek, if you can find it. Now, let's take a look at my website. That's it there. You'll notice I got some slideshows going, so they're spread over into some different pages. If nothing else, it might be worth going to just see those. Alright, so we'll go here to game lists. Okay, and then here's science fiction, fantasy, historical, and otherwise. Okay. Alright, so now we're in science fiction. Okay, so I can see that a little better there. Okay, so these are all the games. First section is Marvel Universe. So my most recent game there was Guardians of the Galaxy. We got a DC Universe, video game conversions, strategy video game conversions, movies, TV series, RPGs, books, comic books, apps. Classic SF and futurism. So there we have it. Okay, so there's the Singularity, and actually an older game, which I would consider the father of the Singularity, Apotheosis of Technology. That goes out 1,000 years into the future. The Singularity only goes 50. So let's see, it's there. I'll go into it. And oh, check out that picture. That is just awesome. So that's some famous picture of some Enlightenment guy staring out into some serene natural landscape. But here they hacked it, so now he's looking out into this sci-fi monolithic thing. Very cool. Okay, so the premise of the Singularity, the game, is that you're this AI, or this artificial intelligence, and you're trying to take over the world. So, that's just what AI do. They just want to take over the world. So we're going with that. Okay, so how would they go about that? What would you have to do to take over the world if you're an AI? So first of all, you'd want to, there's 4 things, I divide it up into 4 things. You'd want to control all governments. You want to eliminate all opposition. You want to solve all crises afflicting the world and mankind. And you, at the same time, want to improve technologies to make the other goals easier. So the game ends after 15 turns. I picked that out of a hat. A lot of the Euros now, 15 seems to be, common. It's like 10's too few, 20's too much. Okay, and victory, you accumulate victory points during play. And at the end of the game, you just compare your total victory points to previous plays, you or others. Okay, so there are 4 boards. There's 3 for the first 3 goals: government, opposition, crises. And then text exists as a deck of cards, and then there's also a deck of action cards. You'll need 20-sided dice. You can find some from the 90s when you played role-playing games. And let's see. It's all standard game type stuff. 6 phases. You start with an event phase where things just go downhill. You roll 5 times on this D10, and 90% of the time the governments, become more resistant, or crisis becomes worse, more severe, or the opposition gains in capability power. And let's go through this a little more. Okay, research phase, you gain some tech cards. You can spend resource points on them. Actually, that comes later, but you spend resource points to meet the cost of available tech cards, and then you take ownership of them, and then they give you bonuses every turn. The action cards are one-off type things. Let's see, resource phase, you get 4 resource points per turn, that's your baseline. I haven't play tested this, so the real question here is actually whether that's enough, because if you're not making enough resource points per turn, the game's working against you and you'll go down quick and you'll never recover. Or actually, if it's too easy, it'll be a cakewalk. So I'm hoping that this kind of works out where it's really difficult in the beginning, and then by the last 2-3 turns you're able to accumulate a bunch of victory points. That would be nice if it works out like that. If not, some of the adjustments would actually be probably minor. Maybe get an extra action card, and maybe get less starting resource points. It can be tweaked. And actually, that goes for all of the games here. I mean, this is all just sandbox, toy box type stuff. There's ideas, there's gems of ideas, and all of these games are in different states of completion, and you just take what you want, you can change it, add to it, make it your own. That's the whole philosophy behind Warp Spawn games. Okay, and then we go to, let's see, progress phase. You'll be getting victory points there. Okay, so here I have the government chart. If you need to randomize, you roll 1d20, and you have governments here, USA, Canada, groupings of nations like Central America, South America. Okay, and they will have properties of resistance and resources. You still have to spend RP to lower the resistance to 0, and then you gain control of them. As you gain control of them, then you get their resources. So some of these will be better deals than others, lower resistance but higher resources. Okay, then I have some discussion on that. That's worth reading probably, but not during this. I'm trying to keep this to 10 minutes. Let's see, then you have opposition, so, brainstormed all the possible groups that might be opposed to, you taking over the world. So things like religious fanatics, human supremacists, corporate entities, the rich and the powerful, viral AIs, I think Matrix, what's his name, Mr. Smith? Let's see, military forces, legal institutions. Okay, and so with the opposition's a little different from the governments in that if they all start at power 4, if their power goes up, then you're going to be losing resources each turn. Bad. If you get it to go lower or to 0, then you're actually getting victory points and even resource points from them because you've turned them. Whereas with the governments, you are getting a whole bunch of resource points for each one you gain. Then we have the crisis chart. Okay, so again, that's 20 of those, and they're subdivided now into war, population, ecology, and financial type crises. So things like superinflation, environmental collapse, nuclear proliferation, overpopulation. Okay, so if they go high due to events, that's bad, you lose victory points. If you can get them low, then you gain victory points for each one. Okay, and then we have our action card list. Not too bad. Sometimes I get carried away with the cards. I'll make, 200, 300 cards for a deck. These are a little bit more reasonable. And they have nice, cool names like Let's see here. Internet addiction. Infiltrate networks, degrade capabilities, locate leader, major projects, New World Order, human cooperation, da 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 da. And then we have all our technologies, so stuff like cameras everywhere, social engineering, virtual reality, cybernetics, la 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 la, mind control. Must have mind control. Androids, you name it, and all of those will help against a variety of goals. They're all kind of unique, but eventually I'll like to go in and tinker. Most games I go in and tinker, for the next 2-3 weeks after I've actually written them, and make little corrections, better rules, explanations, fix tabs, grammar. I'll add stuff a lot of times. Like I might add some multiplayer option to this, but I'd like to go in and make each of these like mini goals, like each crisis unique, each government unique. I'll find some way to do that. Add a little more interest to it. And then finally we have a few more images down at the bottom. Here's one predicting AI and then the eventual super AI. And, I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime, but I'm sure my sons will. We may be the last generation alive to not have computer overlords. On that note, I bid you all farewell.